Welcome, this is Eddie Collins. We are now discussing Chapter 11 from my book Basics of Bluegrass Banjo. In this chapter we are focusing on up the neck playing, which is essentially anything from about fret 7 on up into the higher frets. The first position we'll take a look at is called the E minor position. In this position your first finger is at the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Fingers 2 and 3 are both at the 9th fret. First on the 3rd string with your 2nd finger, and the 1st string has your 3rd finger at the 9th fret. Nice mellow sound of an E minor chord. This is the relative minor of the key of G. Here's a G chord. Here's the E minor chord. Very close in sound, and in fact this shape will often be played against a background G chord. Here's a little bit of part B of Cumberland Gap. In this, notice that you're holding the shape, getting the extra notes with your pinky. When you first learn to do this, be real careful that in trying to play that 11th fret, you aren't pulling the 3rd finger over the fret bar there at fret 9. You might have to first learn to play it where your pinky just barely gets into the 11th fret. Might have a sound something like this. Might not get that note real clear when you first are learning, but my suggestion is to keep playing it, and you'll find that over time the muscle right in through here on your pinky finger will strengthen and you'll be able to make those stretches. Moving now to page 75, we'll revisit a song we learned earlier called Boil 'em Cabbage Down, this time with some up the neck variations. Boil 'em Cabbage Down is a fiddle tune and usually would be played in the key of A with a capo. Just to help you first make better sense of the positions, will remain in the key of G. The first position that we're playing out of was this little melodic position that we used in Blackberry Blossom. Right in there. And you play a little backward roll, ending on the open 1st string. At this point I go to an F shape C chord. And in this, if we were holding the full chord, we would use this fingering, but here I prefer to use just fingers 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes when the frets get smaller, it just feels a little more comfortable. Now there's a background D chord. The bar at the 7th fret is a D chord. A little extra melody there. The last 2 notes are quarter notes, so it's not. It's timing wise. So at the end there's a G chord, D. The next break is the equivalent of playing the open strings, but an octave higher, which is fret 12. You usually will have a double dot there on the side of your neck. So then I move my first finger up here. Notice I'm only barring 2 strings because when you play this high up the neck, most of the time you're finding your melody notes off of just strings 1 and 2, occasionally the 3rd string. So after that I add finger 2 to string 2, finger 3 to string 1, and the second measure sounds like this. Now that would be an impossible stretch if you were down here at the 5th fret or lower. The frets would be too wide. But up here you should be able to try to hold the bar, fingers 2 and 3, and just reach out with your pinky and get that 17th fret. When you're playing against the 10th fret, you're really playing off the top of a D7 chord. That's the reason you only have to move 2 frets from your G chord, which is a bar, to a D7, and you actually end up playing the exact same lick. So the entire break Moving to page 76 now. It's essentially demonstrating that there's a lot of action going against your G chords. So you might be starting off of the D shape, and if the melody goes higher, I'll end up playing things off of the 12th fret up here. Quite often you'll move up here instead of barring it, you might move up. A real common move is to slide from fret 10 to 12. So I show a little bit of like Mountain Dew. Tunes like Long Journey Home, which appeared early in the book. So for a split second there was a C chord. Just went right up to it and came back into that D shape. So a lot of action between here, the D shape, and the bar shape. On page 77, there is a lick that I refer to as the choke lick. The choke is merely just bending a string, and the demonstration is fret 10 on string 2. So I'm bending the string, and you'll notice the way I choose to bend it is to get my second finger on the 10th fret with my first finger right behind that second finger. It helps me control it. And you actually are not just randomly bending that string, you are actually trying to get it to the pitch of the next fret. So as you make that bend, see if you can't get your ear to dial in that note. Right at the high point of the bend should be that pitch of the 11th fret on the second string. And so you essentially are doing the Foggy Mountain Breakdown roll in the right hand. It omits the second note of the roll. It goes index finger, middle finger, and then index, then the right to the thumb. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So when you first combine the roll with the choke lick, I suggest don't even worry about choking it, just get used to the roll. But then put a choke each time you play the second string. Notice when I came out of that, I went back to the familiar E minor shape. In the solo that I have for the 5-string boogie, after I come out of the E minor shape, there's a little trick here to slide into the C chord. The tab just says fret 7 to 9. I'm sorry, fret 8 to 9. So you really will just back up fingers 1 and 2, and then I just slide the whole chord. And be careful not to make the slide too quick. It's not. And you should have noticed as I was moving through that, first and third fingers just moving up and down the strings here. The last song in this section of the book is Sally Gooden, and rather than playing the whole song, I just want to discuss a couple positions here. That little lick right there, I'm playing it while I'm holding the E minor shape, and I put my pinky out here. Back up, return to the E minor shape, play part A again. When you get to part B, you start on this shape, move to your bar at the 12th fret, and if you look at the tablature, it's the exact same notes as what I played before, but it's a little hard to get all the way back down to this shape. So I actually come from here, fingers 1 on fret 9, 3 on fret 11, use this open 5th string to shift. So those those are just some of the highlights of Chapter 11, Playing Up the Neck.